Right, good morning, good afternoon. My name is Alex Bruce, the Turtle Straws Man, and today we're going to talk about turtles. We're going to talk about turtles, we're going to talk about the different types of turtles, sort of how many different species of turtles there are. We're going to talk about turtles' insides and how they're sort of made up. We're going to touch on that. Then we're going to look at how turtles breathe, because the focus of today's little lesson is going to be mostly on sea turtles, but as we may or may not know, turtles live in the water, so we're going to look at how they breathe and how long they can hold their breath for. Turtles all have shells, so we're going to look at turtle shells, what they're made of, how they work, how many babies they have, and the sort of process for turtles, how they travel around to go and lay their eggs at specific beaches all around the world. And we're going to look at the effects that humans and plastic and fishing can have on turtles. First of all, we're going to talk about the difference between a turtle and a tortoise. So a turtle is a reptile with a shell that predominantly lives in the ocean or in water, whereas a tortoise is a reptile with a shell that has feet and walks around and lives on land. And that's the main difference. Another really cool difference, a tortoise can hide inside the shell. Turtles can't. There are 356 different types of turtles. Today we're going to focus predominantly on sea turtles, loggerheads, leatherbacks, hawksbills and greenback turtles. Turtles have been living on planet Earth for about 220 to 260 million years. So they've been around for longer than crocodiles, way longer than humans. They're a really, really old species that were around at the same time as the dinosaurs. I'm just gonna click up here a little picture of what a sort of turtle's organs and insides would look like. So it's pretty similar, with a few differences, and they've got flippers and they've got stuff like that, and they've got a big shell, but they've got a heart, they've got lungs, intestines, all of the same sort of normal stuff that you might find in a human or a dog. Differences. Turtles are cold-blooded. The technical term for this is ectotherm. To explain that, they do not control their own body temperature. So humans, we use a lot of energy making sure that our body temperature stays at the same thing, around 37 degrees, all the time. That's what we'll use a lot of our energy sitting still doing. So, I'll say that again. So a human or a dog or a cat, any warm-blooded animal will use a lot of its energy maintaining that body temperature at that constant level. Whereas a turtle, the same as lots of other reptiles, as well as all other reptiles, cold-blooded animals, as we call them, they will regulate their temperature based on the sun, the temperature of the water around them. The warmer they are, the more active they will be. The cooler they are, the less active they will be. And this really helps when we start to talk about their breathing. So if they are cooled down, if they are not warm, and this is where cold-blooded and warm-blooded kind of can be a misleading for reptiles, because sometimes they can have warmer blood than humans. It depends entirely on their surroundings. Turtles, like other reptiles, if they're cold, will move slowly, will use far less energy, so therefore they can actually use up a lot less oxygen, which is the material in the air that we breathe, that we use for energy and keeps us going. They will use far less oxygen. So any kind of sea turtle can hold its breath for an incredibly long time, 4 to 7 hours, based on its level of activity, because they're not using energy controlling their body temperature, and that is why they can hold their breath for such a long time. There is another little cool thing that sea turtles can do. So how long can turtles hold their breath for underwater? Depending on the type and depending on how much they move, it could be between 4 to 7 hours that they can spend underwater without breathing, because they're not using oxygen to maintain their body temperature in the same way that humans are. Another cool thing that they can do is that in the entrance at the back of them, also known as their bottom, some turtles have something called a cloaca, which is just a really super high concentration of blood vessels, and they can suck water into it and remove oxygen from the water so they can essentially breathe through their bottoms. So there you go. Turtle shells are super similar to fingernails. So if you actually look at your fingernails and then think about a turtle shell, they're made out of the same material, something called keratin, which is made out of protein, and it's like super strong. And turtles have layers and layers of it. And a turtle shell is attached to its bone structure and its flesh. So if you tried to remove a turtle shell, you can't do it. It would rip the turtle apart. So their shells are super important. Over the course of a turtle's life, its shell will grow with them. So as they get bigger, their shells will get bigger. They don't get rid of it. What they will do is they have the little squares or hexagons or the little shapes that you see all over the turtle shells. These, like your fingernails, will sort of grow, and I'm an awful one for biting my fingernails. Not in the same way as a snake will shed its skin, but they will wear off and fall off and show the new scoots, as they're called, underneath. Then we have to look at the sort of life cycle of a turtle. Turtles are cool, and this is why we're all so fascinated with them. Turtles can live sort of anywhere between being 80 to 100 years old. Some will live less, some will live longer. What we all forget, and it's something that happens, is there are beaches that will be disrupted by people. Turtles will lay their eggs on specific beaches, and they will always return to that same beach whenever they have a clutch of eggs. So a collection of turtle eggs is called a clutch. So turtles are really clever. They will always return to the same beach where they were born, which is why we get huge nesting seasons. Turtles coming to specific beaches and laying their eggs. So we're going to throw some numbers at you for some different types of turtles. A leatherback turtle, which is they're the biggest turtles that there are. They will lay around 110 turtle eggs. A flatback turtle will lay normally around 50 eggs in one go. And then a hawksbill turtle. We mentioned hawksbill turtles already in the first lesson. We talked about how buttons were previously made out of hawksbill turtles and then plastic replaced that. Hawksbill turtles can lay up to 200 eggs when they lay a clutch of eggs. So there you go. Now, something we need to think about here is that the reason turtles will lay so many eggs is because there will be predators, seagulls and other nasties like that, will be heading and knowing that the turtles are coming to lay their eggs, and they're going to want to eat the young. So turtles will lay loads and loads and loads of eggs to increase the chances of a turtle reaching maturity, growing and being able to have a hatchling turtle growing up and being able to have children of its own. The reason turtles have to lay so many eggs is because, and this is a hard statistic for anyone to entirely figure out, because they give birth to so many eggs, and so many turtles will hatch and so many turtles will die before they even manage to get into the ocean, because they have to climb out of the nests and crawl to the ocean when they're this big. So estimates kind of range that between 1 in 1,000 and 1 in 10,000 turtles will be able to reach adulthood and be able to produce baby turtles of their own. So it's a bit of a lottery. It's a dangerous game being a baby turtle, and if you make it, you've done really well. And this is another reason why I think that turtles are so cool because they've really, if they've made it to adulthood, they've gone through some serious adversity to get there. So I think little clap for all the turtles out there that have made it. And the other thing that we now need to think about is human effects on turtles, and whether by controlling our activities, we need to think about how human activity is affecting that one in a 1,000 or 1 in 10,000 or anything in between that statistic on turtles reaching maturity. Human activity on beaches, people going down there and treading on nests and then leaving rubbish on beaches. This is a #1 issue that is especially in places like India. A recent example of humans getting in the way of turtle success and turtle nesting and breeding and hatchlings making it into the ocean is hundreds of volunteers cleaned up a beach in Mumbai, and now turtles are able to come back and hatchlings are able to reach the water in their thousands again. Other ways that humans can affect turtles. So we talked about turtle respiration, and I think people forget that turtles don't have gills like fish. They can't breathe underwater, and even with a cloaca or even with an ability to hold their breath for a very long time, another issue that can rise out of humans is the release of plastic pollution, ghost nets into the ocean. So plastic pollution, bags, straws, and anything like that. Turtles eat jellyfish. Turtles' eyes aren't fantastic, they're underwater. They aren't going to be expecting to start munching through a plastic bag, and they don't know the difference in the same way that humans do between a plastic bag or a jellyfish. So this is going to cause issues for turtles, especially if a turtle goes through a huge patch of garbage and plastic. The reason that I started doing what I do, running turtle straws, is because of a video that I saw, and I'm going to just quickly show a tiny little snippet up here of that video of the turtle with a straw up its nose, affecting the way that it was able to breathe. The way that we can help turtles and sea life as a whole is just to be conscious of the amount of plastic we're using and think about whether we are recycling it properly, and think about making sure that we just try not to let it end up on the floor and in the natural environment, because the eventual place that it will end up is in the ocean. So it gets to this sort of point in the lesson or this little video, and I'm going to ask some people to do some things for me if they can. Get in contact, give us a message if you do any of them. Let us know if you're enjoying these videos. Give it a like, share it on whatever social media channel you can, or subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's always very helpful. Or don't if you don't want to, because it doesn't matter. Hopefully you're all having a nice time staying at home. So a couple of little games or exercises for you to do. If you can, have a look and see what turtles you can find that have been in film or television. I'm going to name one really quickly. His name is Donatello, and see if you can name his 3 mates. Then see if you can think of any others. And then the second thing is, if you can go, obviously I've told you some stuff about turtles, but I haven't gone into super depth about them. If anyone wants to go and find out a really cool fact about a turtle, and then send it to me in a message on Instagram or at turtle.straws or just on the YouTube channel, then go for it. And that would be really fun. I am Alex Bruce from Turtle Straws. Thank you very much for watching. Cheerio.